Well, hi there. It's Scott the Pedal Guy here. How you doing? Or it's just the Pedal Guy. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Hope you're having a great week. Wow, what an awesome week it has been. Got a groovy little cold, and thankfully I got over it. But if I cough a little bit, just go with it, as the saying goes. Today is our second episode of the Ask NUX series, and this is a series where I answer your questions. We talk about a particular topic, and on occasion, we will have guests. And I have a very special guest with me today, which I'm going to introduce in a minute. But before we get started, just a couple of quick things. If this is your first visit to any of the NUX channels, take a second and click on the subscribe, click on the like, follow us. We have all sorts of great things to share with you in the coming days and weeks, and I am so very much looking forward to seeing every one of you today while we answer questions and all of that fun stuff. But in the meantime, if you are a frequent flyer here at the Pedal Guy, or if you're a frequent flyer here at NUX or anything like that, let me just go over a couple quick ground rules. 1, be nice, please. 2, be nice. 3, you guessed it, be nice. This is a great informative opportunity for you to ask questions of myself and my guest. We will try to answer the questions to the best of our combined abilities. And all we ask in return is just be polite and nice. No foul, naughty language. No HBO words, please. And let's just be cool and receive this wonderful thing called information and this wonderful thing called sharing. We're here to share information, and I hope you're here to receive it. Okay, so I am so very happy to introduce to you, for those of you who may or may not know this gentleman, his name is Tony. He has a very good, solid channel on YouTube called Addicted to Gear. I've been watching him for quite some time now. He's a fan of NUX products, and I wanted to bring him on board with us today to answer some questions and to hang out with us and, just to help us look a little cooler. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring him in, and there he is. Tony.
Hey everybody, how's everyone doing today? I hope everybody's doing really well. Really happy to be here. The Pedal Guy, awesome show. I've been a big fan myself, so it goes both ways, and I'm pretty excited because I think we're going to have some great stuff to talk about today.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
So welcome.
Thank you. And you might be watching this live stream right now through Addicted to Gear's YouTube channel. That's the magic of this little service called Restream that I use. It enables me to broadcast through several different channels and Facebook pages at the same exact time. So not that I'm trying to get a free subscription from Restream, but if you happen to go pick one up, tell them the Pedal Guy sent you. And they'll do absolutely nothing for me for that. So just so you know, that's where we're at. So Tony, and of course the camera is here, but your screen is here. So I'm just going to be kind of doing this during the whole thing.
Yeah, sure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. I would love to know what makes you tick and what brought you to NUX products.
Sure. Well, for those of you who are, joining us from my side of things, you guys already know the story. Addicted to Gear, the actual channel started about 10 years ago when I was probably, or even more now, when I was actually just interested in sharing information about good products. The idea was not to make money, not to make this a serious thing. It was just to share insights onto products that I felt were worth talking about, and it kind of grew and took off from there. And now I'm doing it on a regular basis, and we have a steady stream of regular viewers on the channel who participate in a lot of the comments that go out on the products that I review. And we also do a really great Sunday live show every Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, because I am in the Great White North. I'm in Canada. So we usually do that on Sunday mornings, and it gives us an opportunity, all the gear junkies out there, to share information about products and just lead everybody down the right path, because there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of voodoo when it comes to gear. And we just kind of share insights so that if anybody's interested in purchasing something new or checking something out, that we can give them a little bit of advice. And I'm not saying we talk them out of it, because I don't think we do, but we at least share some information so everybody could head to the stores with, empowered with the right information before they make that purchasing decision.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you said you're in Canada. You're in what part of Canada are you in?
Yeah, so I'm in Montreal. I'm in
Montreal.
Quebec, Montreal,
That's awesome.
and basically you mentioned NUX, and I stumbled across the NUX products a little while ago, and I've become quite a fanboy actually. I think that at least the products that I've had the opportunity to try have been really good and affordable, and they just do what you need them to do. And sometimes, going with products that are a little bit less complicated is a good thing, at least for me, because I jump down the rabbit hole, and before you know it, you're spending so much time tweaking that you don't actually do any playing or practicing. So I appreciate that, and I'm enjoying the MG400 that I have by my side here today.
Well, it's such a wonderful coincidence that you bring that up because there it is right there in a
Yeah,
very
there it
bad shot.
is.
But we're going to be concentrating on the MG400 today. The MG400 just hit the market. It is available here in the United States. It should be available in Canada now or very soon. It should be available in the rest of the world quite soon too, if it hasn't already been. I just happen to be a greedy SOB, so I try to take every piece of gear I can out of China. So when I find out something's coming, I'm just like I'm in there and I just like monopolize it as much as I can. Call me greedy, but it's the job. I sell product for a living, folks. So when you do that, you're going to get everything you can. And if you're in the Philippines or Indonesia or if in Latin America, because I see everybody's always writing from like Brazil or from wherever in the world, and you're going, why can't I find the Mighty Plug Pro? Well, that's because I probably took all of them.
You
So
have all of them.
I had all of it. Now it is getting out there now. So everybody should get a fair shot at it. And I have to tell you, I don't know what your experiences have been on the Mighty Plug Pro yet. This is really great because I can actually look at the screen this way, and it looks like I'm talking to you like Brady Bunch style. This is really good.
Beautiful.
So, I don't know what your experiences have been on the MG400. So far, I've dug into it quite a bit, and it's been really fun. And if you're a frequent flyer to my channel and you're wondering why I haven't been doing a whole lot of videos lately, mainly it's because I've been doing a lot of these live streams. They take a long time to put together.
Yeah, they sure do.
And we're also doing all those YouTube shorts now. I'm trying to do one daily, although I got kind of knocked off my keister earlier this week because I got a nasty little cold that kind of put me on my back for a couple of days, but not COVID, just a cold. And now we are back up and running and coughing. So if I cough a little bit, forgive me. But yeah, today we're going to talk about the MG400, and we're going to take a look at patch building today because we get a lot of questions about how to build patches. We're going to also take a look at the looper today. Have you worked with the looper at all, Tony?
I fool around with the looper. I'm just full disclosure. I'm not an expert on the product yet. I have been using it and learning it and playing it in live situations and just getting a hold of sort of how to create the best sounds or the best ways to, use it in a live scenario. I don't do a lot of looping. I enjoy using the looper for practicing, but not in a live situation. So I'm gonna, maybe learn a couple of things here today.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I might have a couple of questions of my own. So we'll try to field some questions and answer them if we can. But at the same time, if anything gets too over my head, I'll just pass it over to you.
Very good. And yes, that is one of the things about this show. That we are going to answer your questions. So if you've been typing in questions, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, it doesn't matter. We will see everything here. Like Ron decided to say, hi. Well, hello, Ron. How are you? So good to see you. And we will be highlighting those as we go along. And I see Micheal is here. Hello, Micheal. How are you? It's good to see you. I'm hoping you will stick around and enjoy the presentation today. You've got a couple of your fans out there too, Tony. And I also have grabbed a lot of the questions that we received from our various social media channels, whether we're talking about Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, not TikTok yet. I know the overlay there says TikTok, we just haven't done it yet. I just don't want to dance with pedals. I just don't.
Come
No, I'm so
on. I think
sorry
it would
about
be
that.
great.
No, I mean, can you imagine that? It would be so hilarious. I'm trying to find something. I would be like, here's my mighty point.
Yeah. A million views right away just for that.
That's right. And get a million views off that and go, oh, cool. Middle-aged guy dances with headphone amp. Wonderful. Yeah, that'll
You got to
really
do what you got to do.
yeah, that'll bring the folks in for sure. So in any case, these shows tend to go around to these shows do tend to go a little long. I will hopefully go back through it today and put timestamps in as well, so that you'll be able to jump to your favorite part. And I do have another special guest. Another special guest. And it's this one here. It's this guest right here. I reached out to for FOMO Effects. I don't know if you know these guys or not. They make a digital whammy bar, and I thought that was a really interesting idea. These guys are out of Australia, and it's called the Virtual Jeff. And so I was able to get one here, and well, there it is. It's installed, and it
That
works
looks
really
really
well,
interesting. You got
isn't
to
it? It's
explain
really
that to me.
cool. I,
You got to explain that to me. It seems like something that would be a lot of fun. How
it
does it
is.
work?
It is extremely addicting. So it's a two-part product. So you have the whammy bar itself, and this affixes itself to your bridge with an adhesive. It will not ruin your finish. At least they claim that. But I don't care if I mess up the strat. That's fine. And it is connected to a brain, which is right next to the MG400. I'll show you that in a minute, and it's connected by this 1/8-inch stereo plug. It goes into the brain. You plug the guitar into the brain, and then the brain goes into your processor, and that's all there is to it. And the cool thing about this is that it is a whammy bar, so you can bend down as far as 2 octaves. You can bend up as pull up as far as 1 octave,
No
and it
way.
doesn't sound bad. I mean, just here. I'll just let me wank this thing out here, so I just go full. It doesn't sound half bad. So if I like, that sounded a little bit like a Warner Brothers cartoon. But if I bring in the tube screamer on this,
That does seem like a lot of fun.
it
And
is.
so,
It's
is
cool.
this just is this powered by batteries, or do you have to put anything? Does it can How
No,
does
it
it
doesn't
getting
need
its power?
anything nothing on the bar.
Nothing.
The bar is
Nothing.
all
Okay.
it's passive. It sends messages through this neat little
Yeah.
stereo cable, and it goes right into the back of the brain. And there's also MIDI implementations, which I haven't looked into yet. But um, I've been a little reluctant on my whammy playing, because whenever I start playing with the whammy bar, I go a little crazy with it, because who when one of the worst things you could probably watch if you're trying to wean yourself off of a whammy bar is Jeff Beck. That's probably one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah.
The worst guys to watch for that.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
because he's a bad guy. I would walk on barefoot on broken glass to meet Jeff Beck, just because he's like that important to me as a guy, as a player goes. But it would be cool. But anyway, I got one of those in, and Peter, the CEO over there, really kind guy, and digging on it. So, and
Really
actually, the
nice.
person that turned me onto it was Sophie Burrell, one of the artists that did some presets for the MG400. She did a video on it a couple weeks ago, and I thought, okay, that's pretty freaking cool. All right, awesome.
It sounds like one of the things that I was just thinking when you showed me that is that we need another like virtual guitar synth product, don't we? Like, it's been
Yeah.
so long since we've had a good one, and I figured it would be great to have another one. I don't know if anybody's working on it, but if you're not, you should be, because it's time. It's time to bring it into this century here.
Yes, absolutely. The guys are, yeah. I mean, I'd say that there's a lot of stuff in production now. I would say that COVID has obviously knocked us off our feet
Yeah,
for a
of
few couple of
course.
years.
Michael's frozen a little bit there.
Did we get it
Okay,
back?
you're back. Okay.
Whoop. Did we lose our connection there for a second?
I don't know. Something happened there for a split second, but it seems to be fine now.
Yep. We're back. Okay. Bring me back. There we are. Okay, good.
Working without a net, like usual. It's always full of surprises, but that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, those damn interwebs. Any case, so where was I? Yeah, so development. Um, Let me just say, at least as far as I'm concerned, as far as our company goes, somebody again. Hold on. Did we? Did I use an HBO word?
I think you did. Got to ring the
Okay,
little bell.
get to ring the bell. Got to put a I got to put a quarter in the swear jar.
In the
Okay,
swear jar, yeah.
hold on. I think we're good. I think we're good. Yeah, we're okay. I don't know what that's all about. Sometimes, well, what can I say? Okay, so back on what I was trying to say now for the last time. With all this great in here at NUX, and I know somebody is undoubtedly going to ask, "Is there an MG40 coming?" And I'm going to say, please do not ask anymore. I've answered this so many times. There is no plans for an MG40, as far as I know right now. Now that could always change. And if I know about it, well, this is an Apple. We don't wait until the day it comes out before we announce it. You'll probably know about it because we just seem to be real good at leaking secrets. So I would say, I don't know. And so please don't ask. Do me a favor.
We got it straight.
But in
We
any
got it
case,
straight.
yeah, you got
Yeah.
it straight from the source. But we, in any case, yeah, the, my train of thought. But as far as the development goes for new products going forward, there are so many things on the horizon. There are so many cool horizon for NUX in the realm of keyboards, in the realm of drums, in the realm of obviously guitars and all that good stuff. So, well, guitar products, not guitars. We're not making guitars. Hell no, we're not making. Make sure we make that very clear because a lot of people go, "You're making guitars now?" F no, not a chance. In any case, a lot of good stuff on the horizon, and we will be talking about that in the days and the weeks and the months to come. But that's the beauty of this company. It's frankly why I'm here, Tony, is because this company is all about innovation. That's what I love about being here. If this company wasn't innovative, I wouldn't even bother. I have other things to do. You know, Pedal Guy was very successful in its time as a dealer, and you know now I'm doing this, and I couldn't be happier. So, it just guys, I'm not one of these people that just takes a job. I didn't have to take a job. I took it because it offered an interesting opportunity for me, and that's why I'm here.
Passionate about it.
I'm passionate about what I
that's what
do.
we like to hear.
Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, that's what everybody's
we
supposed
have
to
to,
be doing. And of us can,
we have to love
don't.
what we do. That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
So, bad movie quote of the week, by the way. You know, I love really bad movies, Tony. I know we didn't talk about that, but I love really bad movies. And of course, because this is the month of October, that means that basically they go and resurrect every old John Carpenter movie and throw it out there.
Yeah,
And this
that's
week
true.
they live. You know, remember that one with the aliens with the glasses? You know, Roddy Piper.
I remember that one, unfortunately.
And I just remember that one line. I am here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And
I'm all out of bubble gum. Exactly.
Awesome.
You can still use that today from time to time.
Oh, hell yeah. No, definitely. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the MG 400. There it is. So here we are. Hello. And I also, in fact, have the editor with us as well. Now, let me explain something about the editor very quickly before we get into topic and questions and all that fun stuff. And keep the questions coming, guys, because I can see them as they're coming in. So I see them right over there. Okay. A couple things about this setup. Because we're streaming, because I have two cameras operating, and because I also have a television screen that has the editor right here, all going through an HDMI port. Occasionally, from time to time, my editor will lose communication with my MG400. It has absolutely nothing to do with any sort of problems with the product itself. It just happens to be that I'm overtaxing my system and probably pushing it to the point where it's telling me to go, go screw myself. And so if it does lose communication, just know that it's because I'm overtaxing the system here. I have a USB audio interface. I have the MG400. I have all these other things going on. So just be kind and know that there's no giant conspiracy or anything. Oh, he lied. It's not working. It's not
It's
working
happened
because
to me
I'm
so many
overtaxing.
times. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
It's just
people,
one of those things, you know?
sometimes
Yeah.
people just love to just jump on that stuff.
Oh, I
But
know. I know.
I'm going to just flip around here and just bring the camera in. I love this whole new setup I've got because of this top down right here that I've got. So it's much closer than it was over here before. So um, we can take a really good look, a very good close look at the screen here. And that's one of the things about the MG400 is the screen has obviously improved quite a bit by just getting a little bit bigger. It makes all the difference in the world. And so
It really
we can
does.
see what's going on, especially if you're not on a dark stage or something like that. So
We did have a question here. If you want to maybe
sure.
answer this one, it's from my buddy Fat Philosopher. He says, "Is this a good rule of thumb? Rhythm effects in front of the amp and lead effects in the loop." Now, I know this usually applies to cabinets, but I don't know how if it really makes that much of a difference within the multi-effect world. But maybe that's a good thing to talk about.
Let's bring that question up, which is right here. So is this a good rule of thumb? Rhythm effects in the front and lead effects in the loop. That's a really good question, actually. So we're talking about actually in the physical amp. We're talking about physical amp. Or are we talking about the signal chain of the MG400? Which one are we talking about? Do you think?
Well, I assume he's talking about a physical amp, but in this case, since we're kind of focusing on the MG400, maybe we can discuss whether or not that makes a difference.
Okay, so well, actually, it's not too hard. We can actually answer both, and it applies. It's applicable to both. Okay, so Fat Philosopher, thank you very much for the question. First of all, secondarily, lead effects. I don't really think of lead effects, rhythm effects. I don't honestly think of them too separately. Here's how I think about it. When I want to use a reverb, when I want to use a delay, when I want to use, well, we'll just stick with those two for right now. Okay, a reverb or a delay. I would put those in the effects loop. I wouldn't bother putting them in the front of the amp. The reason being is because when you put them in front of the amp, you're going to go into the preamp, and then you're going to go into the EQ section of the amp, and then it's going to go to the effects loop, and then it goes to the power amp section. Okay, so if you go in through the effects loop, you're bypassing the preamp and the EQ section. So you're able to have a lot more control over the aural characteristics of both of those effects. Otherwise, what'll end up happening is when you put a delay, when you put a reverb into a preamp and then an EQ section, it just becomes crunch city, and it just loses all of its character. So the frequency range, all that stuff, it just goes out the window. So I typically tend to do that, and it actually is the same here when we're talking about the MG400. When we're talking about the MG400, you can see here that in this preset here, and if I go to say one of the other scenes here, you can see that the in the front, I actually don't have anything turned on there, but I've got it. Okay, so I've got a morning drive before the amp. Then and behind that, I've got an EQ, but that could go anywhere. But it just happens to sound better here. Modulation effect. So modulation effect will work in the effects loop if you want to. There's no rules there. I mean, there's sometimes it sounds better in the front, sometimes it sounds better in the loop, and you can test that with the MG400, and we'll do that when I'm going to build a patch here in just a second. Then, of course, moving on to say the delay and the reverb, those go to the rear. Those go definitely in the effects send, the effects loop of a physical amp, or behind the cabinet, after the cabinet, and everything else in when we're talking about the signal chain on the MG400. Additionally, one other thing that I always love to do, and let me know what you think about this, Tony. I
Yeah.
always love to put the pedal, the volume pedal all the way to the front. And why don't you tell them why?
Well, there's when it comes to volume specifically, and even wah pedals, there's these are type of things that you have a lot of flexibility with these things, depending on what you're trying to achieve in terms of your effects. When you put the volume pedal at the front of your chain, you're basically controlling the volume before it hits any of the other pedals. You put them in the back, it's the opposite. Wah is the same idea. So if you experiment with the positioning of the volume pedal, you can get some really cool effects because you're able to control different, let's say, segments. If you would take the volume pedal and say move it right after the or just before the amp, it would give you a different effect than the way we have it set up now. So
Right.
it's a question of flexibility, and it's really great that you can experiment with these things in the virtual world, because it's not as easy to do sometimes when you're dealing with real amplifiers, because there's all the cabling and everything required. So I
Gotcha.
always encourage people to try out different different ways of doing things, just to see what kind of effects you get. But if you I don't know if we can actually hear the differences when we put it in the front or the back really quick, to
Well,
give them an example.
we're actually going to do that right now because we're going to start building a preset.
Okay.
So let me get on my trusty guitar here. Oop, didn't mean for that to go. All right, there we go. All right. So a little history about this Strat. So I bought this Strat just because I wanted the Tex-Mex Strat before it was the Tex-Mex Strat. And that's essentially what this is. So this is basically the same configuration of the Tex-Mex before Jimmy Vaughn put his name on it.
One of my
So
favorites. Yeah. Yep.
it's great. I got my guy to do a whole jumbo refret job on it, and
Nice.
I'm always I'm either playing a Jimmy Vaughn lick, or I'm playing like a Dire Straits lick or something. And I've been working on that, working on all those sort of ideas.
Do you
Uh,
have what do you have a set of Texas specials in there, or what do you have what are you running for pickups?
Whatever the stock pickup was for the
Okay.
Tex-Mex. Now it does have its problems in some cases. Like, let me go back to the first scene here. It does have its problems in, like, say, the bridge position. It does flange. It gets a little prickly,
A little ice picky.
little ice picky. So if you just move to
Okay.
the second position on the bridge,
Yeah.
where you're using the bridge in the middle, then
Mellows it out a bit.
it mellows it out, and you can
Yeah.
EQ it out to sound pretty good. But I think that's the magic of Strats. I love Strats. I mean, I love my Gibsons too. I have my ES335, which you guys have seen a few times in the past, and I've
Great
got a
guitar.
Explorer up there, and maybe one of these days we'll do some speed metal sounds. Although I can't play that to save my life, but I just love the way that a Strat sounds.
So much flexibility with a Strat. It's incredible.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to start building a preset at this point. So let's start by going to the editor, and I'm going to go to just one of the basic presets here that have already been set up. Now, this is one of the things that does bother a lot of people, and I understand. It's okay. One day we'll fix it when we're all grown up. But yeah, in order to start a new preset, the fastest way to start at ground zero is just to go into one of the other presets, one of the other user presets, and just zero everything out. Just turn everything off and then save it. Save it as a new preset. So it's a little weird, but we'll call this TP. Well, actually, we're going to call this NUX Asks, and we're going to call it preset. Just the most exciting name in the world. We're going to go ahead and call it that. All right. So, what a great sound that is, isn't it?
It sounds perfect already. Don't change a thing.
Don't change a thing. Okay, so where do I start when I'm going with presets? Tony, where do you start? I know where I start. Where do you start typically?
I usually grab an amp first. An amp and a cabinet is usually what I start with, because I kind of aim for ballpark, what the sound should be. But just a word of advice to people. I mean, we tend to get hung up on a specific amp, um, and it's great to be able just to experiment, because sometimes you're actually surprised that you can get, a nice clean sound out of an amp that's not necessarily thought to be a clean amp. So, but I usually ballpark it by saying, like in this particular case, you're going with a tweed amp. I kind of expect it to be a little bit crunchy, a little bit, more vintage sounding.
Mm-hmm.
So start with that, then go into the cabinet and the microphone configuration, and then I expand from there.
Great. That's pretty much where I go too. So what's your favorite amp so far? What's your favorite of the bunch?
I'm really enjoying a lot of them. I was actually playing with one earlier today, and so actually surprised a little bit, because I don't usually use this amp. And if I bring up the preset here, I'll tell you exactly. It's the Buddha, which
Buddha.
yeah, the Buddha, and I'm actually using it for like not necessarily high gain, just something a little bit more classic rock style. And it's a great flexible amp if you just tweak it the right way.
Okay, there we go. Good. But we have such a weak sound. What's going on there? What's going on there? Okay. Well, we haven't done anything with it yet. That's probably why. That'll help. Okay. So, right. All right. So the Buddha is this is a really decent amp. I like this one a lot. Might have to switch to the Gibson for this one, just because it might sound a little better. But that's okay. Let's go ahead and make some of the adjustments I typically like to do. So I do roll the mids back a lot, and I do like to put a little more bass and treble in there. Now, here's something that I want to stress to everybody. This is a starting point. Okay, so yes, the where you dial it in with the amp can obviously be very, very important, but don't let that be the end of the journey. And you're going to see what I mean when I bring in the EQ. Okay, the EQ is going to make a big difference. The microphone can make a huge difference. The cabinet can make a huge difference. The idea here, guys, is get a good foundational sound. Okay, a good foundational tone. Wouldn't you agree with me, Tony?
Absolutely. You got to get into the ballpark before you tweak. The rest of the effects, I kind of use them as like seasoning. Once everything is kind of established, you can make things pop a little bit more by using the EQ or using a compressor or whatever you need to do to the sound. But generally, you want to be in the ballpark first. This is already like a pretty dark sounding amp. I usually go with a different type of mic on it just to brighten things up a little bit. Okay, but you're in the driver's seat. I'll let you do what you do.
Well, let's just. I'm going to do one quick thing here. I love the Soldano. I love the really Soldano good cabinet. Yeah. I do love the way that sounds. It's just got a little more oomph to it. And then at this point, this is where the there we go, a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. Good. This is where the mic can really come into handy here. Okay. So the C414 is a good one. If you want something that sounds a little more narrow bandwidth, the Shure SM57.
Yeah.
That'll kind of get the job done. Although I tend to like the 906. That's got a really you hear that, some really nice round sound.
Yeah, it's nicer. Plus, it introduces some nice top end too.
Right, exactly. And then there's like the U87, which of course. But see, that one fuzzes a little bit. I'm not crazy about that.
A little bit. It's a little bit darker, yeah.
But what it could also do is you can move the mic position.
And what do you usually prefer when it comes to mic position, just out of curiosity?
Generally, I like it dead center. I like it
Okay.
dead center. It tends to work better for me. Now, here's a little quick tip and trick, guys, because if you guys are doing this and you're trying to design this, and you know what I hate doing is I hate getting stuck with the mouse, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's so annoying. What you can do, if you want to, is you can edit. You can go in, scroll over to the cabinet or the cab, the IR, and you can change the. So my point is, you don't have to waste your time, going and clicking. Let's try that cabinet. Click. Let's try that cabinet. No, just
Yeah.
use the
Makes
knob.
it quicker.
Yeah, totally.
Is
Totally.
there for people that are not that familiar with the actual unit? Maybe you can explain whether or not you can actually move the speaker position within the in the unit when you're not using the
Oh
editor.
yeah, sure.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So here's how you do it, guys. Use the select knob to change the IR. You use the first knob to change the microphone. So you can see I can change it there. And then you use a third. It's the third knob, but it's knob number 2, and you use that to change the microphone position.
Yeah,
That's all she wrote.
because that's a great little thing to know. A lot of people might not know that off the bat. It's a little bit not. It's not as obvious when you're using it
That's true.
directly from the unit.
That's very true. That's very true. And let me also make sure that you remember to save your presets. Don't lose it. Okay, I like that. That's good. Right. So I also love Huey Lewis in the news. Can't help it. Sorry. Okay. Now another place that I always like to look is another place I always like to go to is noise gate.
Yeah, especially when you're using the single coils, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Single coils and overdrive are fun. Let's see. I compression. So if you guys have followed me for a while, compression, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with compression. Sometimes I like it. Most times I don't. If I use it sparingly. What are your thoughts on compression?
Yeah, you know what? It depends what sound you're trying to go with. I find when you use compression, sometimes on higher gain stuff, you tend to lose a little bit of the oomph
Mhm.
on it. When you want to do like some great spanky type sounds, like if you're playing Long Train Running or something like that on the Strat, and you just want to balance out the sound, I'll use it sparingly. I won't like completely squish it because then I feel you lose some of the dynamics. But it's nice just to give it a little bit more of an even feel to the chords that you're strumming. So it depends on what type of style you're playing.
Right on. Very, very true. Just sending out a inspirational message to all of our people.
By
Questions
the
coming,
way,
y'all.
I'd like to tell everybody to give you a thumbs up for doing what you do, and
Oh, thank you.
just a little appreciation goes a long way, guys. So if you're here and you're watching and you like what we're doing, how about giving a thumbs up so that we can please the YouTube algorithm gods out there and get a few more views on the video.
Yes, please. We love the YouTube algorithm. Okay, so if I do use a compressor, the one that I tend to use more often than not will be the studio compressor. So that's kind of going for that spanky sort of sound you're talking about.
And I think a lot of people are kind of a little bit reluctant to go into the studio compressor because it's a little bit more
A little more complicated.
a little bit more complicated. Yeah, so they tend to stick with the two knob ones just to make it easier for.
Now you want to be careful about it because you don't want to flatten it like a pancake.
No, unless you're going for one of those crazy effects. That is.
Right, exactly. And you also notice that the noise gets a little louder, doesn't it? Okay, which means you have to go back to your noise gate and you have to change the sensitivity a little bit. All right, because that's what's going to happen. Now, let's say you wanted to put that noise gate after the compressor. There's no rules here. You can do that if you want, just like that. Just click and drag. Done. Easy. Doesn't really do much for you in this case, but that's still an option. Now, here's where it comes to the effects. I'm gonna start playing some ZZ Top or something. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Or maybe I'll annoy you, Tony, and I'll play some Rush or something because I know not all Canadians like Rush.
Not all
Okay.
Canadians like I do though. I do. But go ahead if you feel the inspiration.
Well, that's the thing. I always feel the inspiration. That's the problem. Okay, so when it comes to the effects, now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a probably the morning drive, and the reason I'm going to do that is because we're going to set up scenes in this preset. So I want to push this agenda along and get people going here. So we're going to take a look at that morning drive. All right, now the morning drive is a really nice. Now it sounds a little closed off, little nasally, little narrow. That's because we haven't done anything with reverb or anything like that yet. So, and also because we have a lot of compression going on. So, going back to the compressor, take that sensitivity down just a little bit. Don't be so sensitive, and see if that helps you a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go to the drive. I'm actually going to pull the drive back and increase that tone just a little bit. So. Yeah, all right, that'll work.
Sounding crunchy.
Okay, there we go. All right, enough of that goofiness. Let's move to the EQ section. Now, the EQ is where things can get very dangerous. Have you worked with the EQ at all?
Yes, I have. I love EQ. I
Mm-hmm.
love being able to tailor the sound with the EQ, but it's easy to overdo it.
Yes,
So when you're playing with it, a little goes a long way.
that is so very true, Tony. So very true. And that's the thing. You can make tiny little adjustments,
Yeah.
and it will make a huge difference. See, just that little bit right there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing I like more than actually using the unit when you're playing specifically in a live situation, and things change. I don't know if you're using it through FR speakers, or how you're using it if you're going into a front of the house, but
Mm.
a lot of people get frustrated when they're actually using the unit because what they're hearing in their headphones or in their home is not necessarily going to be the same when they take it and play it through different speakers. Before
Right.
you go crazy and change everything in your patches just to try and make it sound the way you want, just pull up the EQ and play around with the EQ while you're at the location, and you could probably get very close to the sound that you had before just by
Very good.
EQing it. So a lot
Very
of
good.
people just get frustrated and they start moving everything around. Then, before you know it, they've scrapped their patch. So
That's right. They throw it out the window and go, I can't figure this out
no,
anymore.
I'll never get it. I'll never get
I
it.
never get it. But, just with a few adjustments, guys, here's what you get. So here's what we had before. Here's what we have now. Oh, wait, Rush tune. Okay, enough of that. Enough of that. All right, I'm going to skip over modulation for the moment. And I'm going to go over to reverb. Not the marketplace.
Verb. Yeah.
Not the marketplace. Now, room is pretty good. Plate is really great. I love the plate reverb myself.
That's my go-to most of the time.
Just got to be very careful with it because it can overdo it. And this is something I want to bring back to what you said a little earlier there, Tony. Season it to taste. Okay, think of this like cooking. Hopefully, some of you cook. I know in the last two plus years, I started doing a lot more cooking.
Always love cooking.
Yeah,
I think I love eating more, but I love cooking too.
oh yeah, my belly line is definitely telling me I like to eat more these days. But the point here is that just think of each one of these things as an ingredient, okay? Because that's essentially what it is. It's an audible ingredient, and everything. If you overdo it, all of a sudden it's going to sound like you're mixing in a washing machine. Okay, so see there you go. See what happened right there is I'm overtaxing that system again, and so it freaked out a little bit. So again, don't worry, everybody, it's fine. And what I mean by that is that, look at by default, the level was like all the way up here on the plate reverb, and while it sounds really nice and cacophonous, the problem is when you're playing in rooms that already have reverb in it, you're just rubbing reverb into verb.
That's right.
And boy, you can get a really bad effect from that. So something like that. That sounds pretty decent. I like that. What do you think?
Yeah, you know what? The key, I think, to getting great sounds when you're playing with the unit in a live situation is really not to, is to avoid anything that really introduces any kind of mush,
Right.
and just keep it cutting. Because once you're playing with a band and the drummer and the bassist kick in, they're gonna bury you in the sounds, So
Right.
you want to be able to still cut through. I tend to get things laid out to make them just a little bit brighter than you would probably feel comfortable using when you're playing alone, and it usually works really well in the mix when you're actually in a live situation.
Very true. Absolutely. Let's take a look here. Okay. Lastly, for the moment, let's take a look at delay. Now, I have my favorite delay. Which one's your favorite?
I'm more of an analog type guy. So, but that depends what you're playing. I mean, if you're trying to get that spanky U2 sound, then the Boss Digital delay will do the trick.
Sure.
But I like I just like the analog when the delay repeats kind of get worse and worse as they go.
Sure.
But again, it depends what sound I'm trying to go after here. If I tend to avoid that analog delay if I'm doing like metal type sounds, because they're already kind of overly saturated, then it just deteriorates too much. But if the sound's relatively clean, like a tape echo or an analog delay, work really well.
Yeah. I like the tape echo myself. The Phi delay is actually really cool, and when I want to go really, out there and smoke them if I got them.
The pan delay is always a lot of fun.
Yeah, that one will get people's attention. But let's stick with that analog. Yeah, that'll work. We'll just make a couple of little adjustments again. Yep, that'll work. Okay, and finally, let's do this. Let's also bring in a little modulation. Which one's your favorite?
I like the Univibe. I like that a lot. But if of course, you can pepper a flange in there as well, or a phaser, But the Univibe is nice with a Strat if you're going with the cleaner sounds. I don't know how well it comes through when this sounds a little bit maybe a little too dark for that.
Well, let's bring one in. I like to typically bring that speed way down. I love when the intensity's up there, though. Especially if you're like kind of going for that, that Floyd sound.
Yeah, just creating that movement. Beautiful.
Yep. Getting a nice one out of that. Now, so I want to go back to what your viewer was asking about earlier, about lead effects and all that fun stuff. Now, what one could say is, well, why don't you put the vibe before? Well, here's what you get before. So if we put in before the amp, and then after the amp. So it's close.
Quite a bit darker when it's after the amp.
Right. Now it's a lot more open. There's a lot more frequencies happening.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this. And I just got a really interesting question here, or a very interesting point here, from one of our viewers here, Mr. Flanagan.
Mhm.
Great session, guys. I have the MG30 and the MG300, but nonetheless, I'm happy to learn more about the MG400. Well, look, the really good news here is that everything I'm showing to you is translatable to both of those other units. So there's nothing
Exactly.
here that doesn't say that you won't learn something here. So don't worry about that. Just go for the information, because that's what it's all about. Now, one last thing I'm going to do here, Tony. I am going to move the volume pedal all the way to the left. And I'm also going to turn off the vibe, because we're going to talk about that in a second with scenes. But people want to know why we would do this. The reason why we would do this is if I have the pedal turned all the way down right now. So what I'm going to do first, let me move it all the way to the end of the signal chain. I should have probably done that first. So let me flop those around there. So right now the pedal is all the way in the up position, so no volume. So if I turn it on, there's nothing. There's no sustain. There's nothing behind it. There's no ringing out of those beautiful reverbs or delays. It's very artificial. And that's not to say that it won't work for everybody, right? But if we move that, flop this around again. Man, I love when stuff works. Okay, flop the volume pedal over there, and now when you do the same exact thing, I can just turn it all the way up, and I get the tail end of the reverb. I get the tail end of the delay. So if I really want to accentuate that, let me make the level on the reverb a bit brighter. So here we go. A lot nicer, right?
Yep.
A lot
Smoother.
more natural.
Yep. Yep.
And then from there, you have something that I think you have something that just sounds a lot better at that point.
Yeah, the changes are subtle, but definitely they improve the sound overall.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
if you want to squeeze every last drop of goodness out of the patches, it's great to experiment with these things.
Absolutely. And we just bring that plate back to where it was before. Now let's talk about scenes. Have you worked with scenes at all?
I have. I when you're working in a live situation with the unit, I don't see an easy way of doing things without using scenes, because say you're playing a song, and you're basically doing a transition from, let's say, a clean, let's say maybe a deluxe reverb, and then all of a sudden you want to kick in maybe a little overdrive and reverb for your solo, or maybe boost it a little bit. The easiest way to do it would be using scenes. Some
Mm-hmm.
people will try and put patches side by side, so
Right.
that they can actually get a little bit more flexibility, because I think one of the limitations of a unit sometimes is that you can't necessarily switch amplifiers
Mm-hmm.
when you're jumping scenes. So some people will do it the long way and just put patch 1 and 2 side by side, where they know they're going to be switching between them to
Mm-hmm.
kind of compensate for that.
Right.
But scenes are great.
Right. And the way I always like to call it, the way I always like to think of it is a preset. It's presets within a preset.
Exactly.
Because each one can have its own attributes. So the MG400 has 3 scenes per patch, and you can use the third foot switch here to toggle between them quite easily. You can also assign the foot switch to other things as well. Well, actually, no, you can change it to scene 1, 2, and 3, or just scene 1 and 2. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's just show you very quickly how to set up scenes for those of you who haven't done this before. Okay, so let's say in scene 1, I don't need the overdrive, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. I absolutely do not need the vibe as well, and one could also say I don't need the delay. I just want something that's nice, plain Jane. So when I turn it on, I have something I can just get to really fast, right? A nice basic sound. So that could be scene 1. So once I made all those adjustments, what you want to do is save as you go along here. So scene 1 is now created. So if I go from scene 1 to scene 2, You can see how things are changing there along the signal path, right? So there's scene
Exactly.
one, and now we're going to go to scene two. And in scene two, I am going to turn on the I'm going to turn on the compressor, the noise gate. I'm going to bring those back. I'm still going to keep the vibe off, but this time I will have and I'm going to keep the overdrive off, and I'm going to show you a little trick with that in a second. But I am going to bring the delay in for this one, and so I'm going to go ahead and save again. So now I have scene one, scene two. So there's really no difference at this point. But now scene three, I am going to again turn on the noise gate, turn off the effect, and you're going, why? Why are you doing that? What's wrong with you, man?
No.
What's with you, man? We're gonna bring the Univibe back. We're gonna bring everything back, and that is gonna be scene three. Okay, so we have scene one, scene two, scene three. Now in scene one, let's go back in here and let's make sure that this guy is just bypassed all the way through, because we don't want that on scene one. We also don't want this on scene two either. I'm just going to make sure it's all done the way that I want it to be. So now when I go scene one, scene two, scene three, and you're going, what about the overdrive? What about the overdrive? Okay, I'm going to show you. Calm down, children. We go here to and I'm going to show you how to do this from the unit itself too. So you go to the little expression and pedal setup here, and you can set this foot switch to the effect. So you now have a stomp pedal. How about that? And the other
People
foot
forget about that.
yeah, and the other foot switch can also go to any of the other effects along the signal path, or you can use it for just switching the scenes, which is where I'm going to keep it. Or you can set it to tap tempo if you want to. But what that means is now it doesn't matter which scene I'm on. I'm not going to make a scene. I'm not going to make a scene. But if I go and I just want to I'm on my scene one and I want to turn on the overdrive, turn it off, no problem. Scene
You're done.
two,
Yeah.
same thing. Same thing. So I've just got
Beautiful.
that extra element, right?
Yep.
Now, how do you do that from the unit itself? Well, it's very easy. You just go to control. See the little control button there? You pop that, and there you go. There's where your adjustments are made, and you can make the adjustments anywhere you'd like right here. So you just use the select rotor encoder, select it, and there you go. That's it. Easy, simple, done. Boom, over.
Beautiful.
How about that?
That little trick is worth like so much. You wouldn't. I mean, you're going to be using that all the time. Once you realize the power of the control, like the selectable control buttons there, you can do so much with that. It's beautiful.
That's right. So what we have now is we have three scenes. So scene one. It's really loud, isn't it? Oop. Hi there. Scene two. Then scene three. Oh, looks like we have a little mistake here with scene three. Scene three does not have the vibe turned on. We got to fix that. Okay, so scene three. But then, like, I want my overdrive. Done. Right? And that's how it works, kids. So
I have a question. Maybe other people might be interested in knowing this one.
Yeah.
When we all know that the unit also can the expression pedal can also be set up for a wah.
Yes.
So if we wanted to set up the expression pedal for a wah, is there more than one wah sound?
There is not. There is one wah sound.
Exactly. So that's one of the things where when I started using the unit, I was sort of looking at that and saying, okay, like how do I select a different wah? Well, I figured it out after a little while that the wah is kind of like one stock sound.
Right.
It's either on or off. So that's why you don't see any wah effects in the signal chain.
That's right. Now, will it stay that way? One can never say. There's probably a very good chance, and again, this isn't because I'm promising that this is going to happen, but there's a very good chance that we will see, that we'll see another improvement for the wah for the MG400. This is just the first version of the firmware. Now, if you've been using NUX products for a while, then we don't just sit on our laurels and rest on our laurels and do nothing with it. We just put it out there and forget about it. Our guys are always constantly innovating.
Yep.
Because
that's
what
what I
the
love
magic
about these
is
products. Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
exactly, right? I mean, how many updates have we gone through with the MG300? I mean,
Yeah,
good
keeps
Lord.
getting better. I mean, that's one of the things as a consumer that for me anyways, gets my loyalty is that I know I'm not just going to buy a unit and it's going to be outdated in a year or whatever it is, and nobody's going to think about it anymore. So you can just enjoy your investment for that much longer.
Mhm.
And not to say that one wah pedal is not enough. I mean, it's fine. I don't see an issue with that at all. But
Right.
if anybody's used to some of the other units from NUX where you do have that flexibility built in, they might be scratching their heads and saying, well, maybe there's something I need to turn on. So I just wanted to mention that.
Right. So we're going to move into the looper here for just a quick second. I want to hear what this sounds like with the virtual Jeff here. So let's see, what does it sound like here? It sounds a lot louder than I remember it.
Does it gent?
Eat your heart out, Edge.
It never gets old.
It never does. It never does. And you always want to go, yeah! Every time you're going at it, man, it's more fun. Okay, I want to get into the looping. How about that? We get into looping. Let's talk about the loop. Sorry, that's probably
There was a
very
funny comment earlier on, just while you're setting that up, where somebody says, "I hate loopers because I just keep hearing my sour notes over and over again."
Well, it's like the famous saying goes, how do I get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, 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 kids.
Yeah.
You gotta practice your riffage. It takes time. I'm always learning. I've been playing since 1987 and I'm still learning all the time. So I'm stuck in a rut, but still. Okay, so enough of that philosophy. Does it gent, Vampire? Yes, it gents. Yes, it gents. Of course, it gents. We give you the diesel amps for Christ's sake. Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely. If you can't get a gent tone out of that, oh man,
Something's wrong.
Yeah. All right, I'm just making a couple of quick adjustments here. Now, let's talk about the looper. Okay, so the MG400 has what's called a phrase looper into it built in. Now, and we do that with all of our pedals, all of our multi-effects pedals. So the MG300, the MG400, the MG30, they have a phrase looper built in. Meaning, and in fact, there's actually a few Verdugo pedals that have a phrase looper built in. Now, phrase looper is not permanent memory. It's a RAM-based looper, meaning that once you turn off the unit, it's over. You don't save it and go.
Yep.
It's a one and done sort of thing. So it's meant for the live environment for you to jam over and improvise. Now, the cool thing about our looper, when you want to access it, just hit the jam button, okay? And that gets you into the looper. And the cool thing about our looper is this. One is it's stereo. So you have stereo versus mono. You have normal record and auto record. You can change the volume of the looper, obviously, and you can do undo, redo, all that good stuff. And it also has a drum machine in there too. So you could do the following. You could just, start playing a drum loop if you want to. You can adjust the volume of the drum loop. Boy, that's just like the whitest rhythm ever.
It's great for that Michael Jackson riff.
That's right. what you can also do, and from here you can change the style within that style. Within that, you change the loop pattern within that style, or you can just use the navigation buttons to go to the various other styles that we include. We have metal, so there's your gent drum rhythm there. Then we have funk. This is one I happen to like quite a bit.
Funk is always the best because
it's easy.
It's all groove.
It's all groove. It's all groove. I am going to go back to the boring rhythm here for a second. And the reason I'm going to do this is the other thing I want to show you guys here is the cool thing about the looper. Now, to get into the let's see, I want to get into there. That's where I'm going to go. Hit the control button. And the control button allows you to go into the parameters of the looper where you can change the drum EQ. So you can give the drums a bit more edge if you want to. And you can also choose between mono or stereo. So in mono, you get 60 seconds total. In stereo, you get 30 seconds. You can also change from normal record to auto record. And auto record will wait for you to start playing before it starts recording. And that's very handy indeed. So when we go back out, I could do, I can loop as follows. So I could start playing a loop playing a drum pattern, and I could start to record by using the control 1 foot switch, but it's not going to start recording until it actually detects a note. So.
Yeah, sounds like Bryan Adams.
Okay, so you can turn the drum off. You can bring the drums back in. You can double tap the control 1 foot switch to stop the whole thing altogether. And you can also press and hold to erase it. Now, that's one thing that's really cool about it. But, what if you don't know the tempo? What if you don't know the tempo of what you're playing, right? Well, we have a tempo detection feature built in, kind of like the JTC pedal, if you've ever used that. Have you ever used that one, Tony?
I have. Really great pedal now that you mention it.
Right, and it detects your tempo, and then it'll play the rhythm according to the tempo. So we can do that. So I don't even need the drum loop. I could just go, something like this. And so now it's detected it at 106. So let me go ahead and play the drums and see if it locks up.
Beautiful.
It's pretty close. We could do better.
Yeah, it's very close. So can you just show that one more time, because
you got it.
It seems like maybe a few people might have missed it.
Right. So what I want you to pay attention to is right here where the tempo is. The tempo is set to 240, and I'm setting it to 240 because when I do the recording of this loop, it's going to automatically adjust the tempo, the BPM.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to play that same riff again, a little more in tempo this time, and see what we got. 2, 3, 4. A little sloppy, but you can see now that the tempo has been detected at 106. So if I start playing the drums,
pretty good, not bad at all.
Yeah, and then the cool thing is I can exit, and I can bring in, I can go to a different scene if I want to.
A great tool for practicing, and just playing with the drums is huge. I always recommend everybody practice with a metronome. When you have the drums on, it makes things so much better, and it really just makes you hone in on the rhythm and it makes you an overall better player, in my opinion. So the key
Absolutely.
thing there is to remember that you got to be in tap mode before you start doing anything, so that it locks into the tempo.
Right. So it's going to detect what you're playing, and then it'll detect the BPM of what you're playing, and depending on how much you've practiced the part and you've got it dialed in,
Mm.
and if you play it, on time and everything, it should lock in the drums pretty well with it, and
Nice.
that makes it just all the better and all the easier for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a perfect tool for when the drummer's late.
Exactly. Um,
And when is
and
the drummer not late, right?
when is the drummer not late? Right. Yeah, I mean, there's about a million jokes there. But that's how you use the looper, and that information I just shared is applicable to the MG300, the MG400, the MG30. All three of them have the same exact looper built in. So anything I've shown you there will be applicable here. And if you're saying to yourself, well, what about the editor? Can I do this with the editor? Well, of course you can do this with the editor. It's right here. Just look for that little drum. See the little drum icon right there? And you get colors. You get all this wonderful things. So you can do it from here, and you can set up your mono, your stereo, your mono, your normal record, all that stuff. Now, the reason it's not letting me do anything is because I've got information saved on the here. So now that I've killed the loop that was already recorded, now I can change it. So I can change the tap tempo if I want to. Ooh, 480. What's that sound like? There you go. Doing drum and bass, baby.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's Friday. Okay. So you can change normal record, auto record, mono, stereo. You can make all of your adjustments here. So you can do it from the editor, or you could do it from the unit itself. And I think the most important thing is being able to work with it together, so you're using them both at the same time. Like the little trick I showed you guys earlier about changing the IRs and all of that. I think it makes a huge difference myself. What do you think?
These little tricks go a long way. It's like once you start like understanding how you can actually just make things work for you, it just the whole intimidation factor goes away. The
Hmm.
I don't know if we have time for one of my questions, but one of the things
Yeah, please.
that
We
I
have
think
plenty of time.
maybe other people might be wondering, and specifically for this, I like to,
I
whenever
like
I'm
to
working with
whenever I'm
patches, I like to actually rearrange my patches so that I have them in some sort of an order, depending on the
Mhm.
set list that we're playing. So I'm not tap dancing all over the place. So I know that there's ways to export your patches, and it's always a good idea to back up your patches just in case something goes
Yes.
wrong. You have a backup. Um, from what I can see, or from what I've seen, that is basically one file that gets exported. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't tried to export individual patches.
Mhm.
Is that something that is doable? And if so, maybe you can show us how that works.
Absolutely. That's a really, really good question, Tony. So let me bring the editor back up here. Now, in the editor, you've got the export function here. Now, the export, there is one thing I do want to correct there. When you select all, it should do this. Let me double check this, but it should. Yeah, it doesn't. You can't see. Unfortunately, you can't see it. I can't share that screen, but it's saving them as individual presets. So it's not. I mean, it's not saving it as one file. But if you want to just export one patch. Let me start from scratch on that
Yep.
again. Over here at the top,
Yeah. Go
you've got
ahead.
your drum loop, you've got your expression and pedal, and then you've got your export. So click on export, and you can select all if you want to, and this will
Yeah.
this will export all of the presets into a single folder, but it will be individual files. Okay, or you can just simply select one, and then go over here to the export button, click on that, and then you just export it to wherever you want it to go, and bring it back anytime you'd like. Now, as far as making things change, changing the order of the presets, it's as simple as this. You just simply click and drag, and it will switch around your presets. So if you want to move Meltdown up to first step, so that is 1A, that is 1B, and let's say Octa, you want to switch places with Crunch City, you just click and drag, and you can just change it any way you want to.
So
and you
it
can
doesn't,
create your
people
own.
don't have to be afraid of losing their other patches. Like it's not going to overwrite the other patches. It's just going to move it into this, into that slot.
Absolutely, that's very, very, yeah, that's it. Oh boy, Quicksilver just told us that
Yeah,
that
the
the
Jays
Jays lost.
lost.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
too bad.
bummer.
Bummer.
It's
I'm not a
okay.
Mariners fan,
It's
so
okay. We can concentrate on playing music now that
there
now
you
that
go.
that's over.
No problem. Well, hey guys, I'm a Dodgers fan, and misery loves company. So we're going to probably take it all the way to the end and then botch it up like we normally do. So that's what we're really good at.
Positive thinking. That's what we need.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm also a Sox fan too, because you have to have an American League and a National League, and there you have it. I worked for Cakewalk for a couple of years, so I ended up becoming a Sox fan
I gotcha.
as a result, because they were in Boston, back in the day when it was Cakewalk.
Yeah.
Um, before it went to Roland and then wherever else it went. But in any case, yeah, if you want to change the order of your presets, it's just simply a matter of clicking and dragging. So if I wanted to switch places, this one I want to switch places with Okta, click and drag, done. It's over. And
Yeah.
at that point, it's all set up. So your set list is ready. You can import it, you can export it, and take it on the go with you. Simple as
It's
that.
beautiful. Yeah. That's one of the best features if you're trying to play with the unit live and just rearrange your set lists on the fly. It's great to be able to just drag and drop them like that and get them
Absolutely.
to work for you.
Absolutely.
Really nice.
So I think this is a really good time to go back through the list here of questions, and let's answer a few questions. What do you think?
I think people are shy. I don't know. I think what ends up happening most of the time is they wait till the end. Guys, don't wait till the end of the show because then you're not going to have time to squeeze in your questions.
Yep. Everybody's well. And well, that's why I have my caption questions here. So let me bring one of those in really quick. And I'm gonna bring an easy one in here real quick because people are asking this, which is where the Mighty Plug Pro. Where can I buy it? Amazon is currently not available. Yes, we know. That's because again, I'm greedy, and I took everything. I took everything from NUX China, um, and it is getting restocked at Amazon now if it isn't already restocked at this point. Now, Gaston, I'm assuming that you're talking about another part of because Amazon is US. I know that it's available in the US. In other countries, it might take a little while, but it will get there. There was a small manufacturing issue they had to work out. It put a delay on things, and now it's shipping at this point. So we're actually flying them out, which is incredibly expensive. But because there's so much demand on the Mighty Plug Pro, we're trying
Great
to.
news.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a good question. The MG30, is this compatible with the MG30? So I'm not sure what he meant there exactly. I'm assuming that actually, you know what? He asked the 300 question, so that's my mistake. His question was about the 300. Is it compatible with the MG30? Meaning, can you take a preset from the
A
MG30
patch.
300 and then put it into the MG30?
Good
Unfortunately,
question.
no, you can't do that. Unfortunately, but we really should come up with a way to do that, shouldn't we?
It would be great.
It would be wonderful. Now here is I want to go see a couple of questions here because I tried to look for questions that weren't just MG because people do it, but a lot of people are asking questions about it. So let's see. Let's see. Like here's a Cerberus. Occasionally we get Cerberus questions. We don't get them as much as we used to, but we do. So Brian wants to know: can you plug straight into an amp? Yes, you can plug a Cerberus straight into the amp if you'd like. Do keep in mind, though, that you do need to turn the impulse response off. That's the only thing you need to do. Once you've done that, no problem. Plug in and go. You can either go in through the preamp or you can go in through the effects loop. There's a 4-cable method included with the Cerberus. That's what it's built to do. It's built to work with amps. So I hope that answers your question.
That's one of the things I find a lot of people just forget is that when you're using a multi-effects unit like this one or any of the multi-effects units, they often forget that if they're switching and using it in a live situation and they come back in a studio situation, they often forget to reset the actual output so that you're actually not using in studio mode. So then when they get into a live situation, like, how come it doesn't sound so great? Because you forgot to actually indicate that you're going into an amp now. So that's important to remember that.
That's right. That's very, very right. I'm just going through the list of questions here. I want to bring those up here real quick. Okay, here's one that Craig asked. How do I add new sounds to the Amp Academy with Chop Tones add-ons? Okay, so let me explain what sounds are. In fact, actually, I can actually take the guitar off now at this point, unless we're going to play something. I'll leave that part to you, Tony, if you want to play. So as far as the sounds go, what Chop Tone is doing is they make impulse responses for the Amp Academy, and we include quite a few impulse responses from Chop Tones that are already imported into the Academy. And actually, I believe there's additional one you can download as well. But they make a series of different impulse responses from all different types of amp cabinets, and importing them in is quite simple. You just go to the cabinet section. I can in fact even show you here if you really want to see it on the MG400, because the methodology is just about the same here. Sorry, I'm having a little fun there with the with the mouse. So if you go here to user, and this is about the same. Let's hope it's going to. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so we can import here if we want to. We can import an impulse response. We can also go to collection, and from here, this is where you can bring in a whole variety of different impulse responses and then select the one you want. Like for example, I've got a Vox impulse response here. I'm sharing a tab. I'm sharing an actual window, so I can't show you navigating to another impulse response to bring it in. But that's how you would do it. It's roughly the same idea with the Amp Academy. So hopefully that answered your question.
Good question.
We should
There's
probably
another
do something with
question here that I saw from Vox Guitars Rock. It says, sorry if I missed it. Is there an adjustment available to adjust for how hot or cold your pickups are on this unit? I understand what he's saying because I've played with other units where you can actually indicate when you're playing a guitar with humbuckers or single coils, and it'll kind of adjust, I guess, the overall sound of the unit. I don't think the unit has something like that, but correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm actually looking for his response now, for his question now, so I can bring it up. Which I can't.
It's one of the more recent ones
okay.
at the.
Oh, down at the bottom here. Okay. What was the name?
Vox Guitars Rock.
Oh yeah, he asked a lot of questions. Okay. Okay, I can't find that specific one, but he asked a few questions here, actually. So we'll just go ahead and answer the question now. So what? I'm sorry. Repeat that one, and I'll just do it from.
So he says,
I'll look at
is
the
there
camera
an
instead of looking at
adjustment
the screen.
available?
Yes.
Is there an adjustment available for how hot or cold your pickups are on this unit?
No.
So that's it.
There isn't.
I've only seen that a couple of times on a couple of units. Maybe it was one of the Boss units. I'm not really sure, but there was an option to indicate what kind of pickups you had on your guitar.
Yeah, no, we don't. That's not one that we do. It's an interesting premise, though. But many times, I don't want to get in the head of my developers. They it's probably a pretty scary place to be. But yeah, I don't know what the reasoning behind that would be, but I can see the merit and why you'd want to do that. I'm not 100% sure that's something that we could actually give you guys, especially keep it the price as low as we do. But that doesn't mean that we can't look at something like that down the road. Now, in say the case of the Impero, for example, the Impero has a the back for bass, guitar, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, where it makes those EQ adjustments. So what you could do, actually, You know what? You know what? I got something for you. Actually, I think I might be able to answer this question for you in a very satisfactory way because I'm a giver. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the mode switch here. Okay, I'm going to go to mode. We'll go to mode. You've got a 3-band EQ right there. Okay, so you can actually adjust the EQ. You can first of all you can adjust the setting, the output setting. Now, if you're not sure what that means, here it is. Simple. If you're working in a studio like we are here today, then that means you're going to stay on Studio Direct because it's going to have the impulse responses turned on and the amp turned on and all that good stuff. The amp's still going to turn on. But if you're going to your amp, whether you're going into the front of the amp or the rear of the amp with the effects send or the return, then you would use the combo front, stack front, combo rear, stack rear. What happens in those situations is it turns off the impulse response because you would just simply be rubbing an impulse response into a cabinet, which isn't going to sound very. So I'm muting myself as I cough, so you guys don't have to hear me do that. But yeah, gotta still get that cold, folks. But my point to you there, Mr. Vox, is that you can make the adjustments to the input or to the output right there, so that it might help you a little bit there. Now there is another place you can go to. I believe yes, input trim. What I was looking for. Input trim might also help you out a little bit. That might be another place that you can look. So to get there, let me show you how I got there because I know I went really fast. I held down the edit exit button and the save button simultaneously, and that will get me into the system menu. And then I can use the control buttons to navigate to the various destinations, go to input trim, hit the select knob, and then there you go. You can make the adjustment. Okay. I hope that helped you. All right.
Right.
How about
All right.
that? People, we are answering your questions. Damn it.
You are answering the question. Indeed. There's another question here. Says any date for when this thing launches in the UK or Europe?
It is there in the UK now. It just hasn't shown up yet. It just shipped, guys. It just shipped last month, like mid last month. So it is on its way to the distributors, which then goes out to the dealers. So it will be there. I wouldn't be surprised if you look, say, this coming week. It should be on Amazon UK or whatever UK-based dealer is.
It's just, that excitement when you really want a unit and it's like you're waiting for it. And it's like every day is Christmas. You're just hoping that it's there today. I understand the excitement.
Absolutely. Let's see. We got a little one feedback here for Ron. I liked your review on the NUX Mighty plug. That's why I bought it for my travel rig. I don't know if he's talking to you or if he's talking to me, Tony. But
could be both of us.
It could be both of us. It very well could be. I did for the Mighty plug a couple of years ago. I know you did the Mighty plug, and obviously now we have the Mighty plug Pro, which is a little more fun too. But thank you so much. Let's see. I want to just keep going down the list here. Here's about service, and I want to answer this one really quick. So, do you know if it's possible to get a NUX Optima Air repaired by NUX when I bought it used? Well, it really depends. What I would recommend doing, Paul, is reach out to the country that you're in. If you're here in the United States, reach out to us in Arcadia, and we will see what we can do to help you out. Reach out to your distributor in your particular country, and they should be able to help you in some form or another. Hopefully, it can be replaced or repaired. Just contact them and see what they can do. Okay. Now, we in the United States,
a question also. I don't know if you saw his question, but he says, would this complement a Boss Katana? So yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't. I think it would definitely complement the Boss Katana. I think what he's concerned about is that since the Boss has its own series of effects, and then you're going into it with a unit like this, if that could cause some issues, but I don't see the issue there.
No, not at all. Not at all. It would work fine. Let's see. Here is one. Micheal wrote, "How about a valve power amp with power soak to use with NUX preamps?" I'm not quite sure how to answer that one. That one's thrown me for a bit of a loop. What do you think?
How about a valve power amp with a power soak to use with the NUX preamps? How about a? I'm not sure I follow what he's trying to ask here. A valve power amp with power soak to use with the NUX. Okay, so I think what he's trying to say is I don't know if he's trying to use it with an amp that has a power soak built into it,
Mm-hmm.
and then using the NUX as I guess probably in front of the amp. That's what he's probably trying to do. I've never actually
Yeah.
tried that myself. None of my amps have the built-in power soaks. I have used attenuators with it,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it would make. I don't think it would sound bad. I think if you go into the front of, if you're indicating that you're going into the front of the amp with the unit, should work fine. I don't think
Right.
nothing should explode. I think it should be fine.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
Don't quote
Allegedly.
us on
Let me see if
that.
no quote on that one. Yes. I think about. Oh, okay. I thought I had a call coming in there. All right. Let's keep going down here. Uh, oh, my buddy Christopher Butler's. Well, he was here. What's up? All right. Good for you. Here's another question. Are there going to be bass guitar options on the MG300? That's a really good question. Yeah, Dustin, that's not the first time I fielded that question. I really would like to see that. I can't promise it, but I would like to see that in some point in the near future. I can tell you there is an update coming for the MG300 before the end of the year. I don't know if it includes a bass amp or not. We typically the furthest we've gone is the furthest we've gone with the bass amps. It would be like the Melvin Lee Davis because it's our amp, so we put that in, and a couple of other ones too, the Aguilar. But I will absolutely pass it along. I know that's already been requested several times, but I will try to get that for you. We'll see what we can do. We'll put it that way.
There's another question at the top here. It says, can the MG400 run two modulation effects at once or just one? I like to run a chorus and a detune for the Lush 80s LA clean tone.
Okay, that one. Yeah, there's no way to do that. It's one effect at a time. However, that's not to say that it will change, that it won't change, because if you use the MG30, and I'm sure you've seen this, Tony, you can double stack effects. You can
Yes,
actually have two modulation effects by sacrificing your effects block. So, or you can have two overdrives if you want to, or two
right.
distortions. You can do that too. So, that's
I
not to say
mean,
it couldn't happen.
it would be great to have everything, guys, but I mean, you have to also keep in mind that the unit is quite affordable, and at the end of the day, it already does a lot, but everybody always wants more. I get it. I get it.
That's right. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. This was one I wanted to answer earlier because I saw this question from Swarm. As a beginner, is there an advantage to routing my MG30 via my PreSonus interface rather than just going direct to the PC? No, not
Good
really.
question. Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's one I see very often. My philosophy is this: if I have a direct digital connection from my processor that I can hook up to my computer, I'm going to do it that way. I'm going to go directly into the to the computer via USB. If you go analog out of your MG 30 into the analog input of the PreSonus, what you're getting a D to A conversion and then again an A to D conversion. And sometimes that can add up to a lot of additional noise that you don't want. So that's the only reason why I would recommend
Yeah,
probably
and
shying away
possibly
from
also latency too.
latency is a good, yeah, that's another good point. Absolutely. That's very valid. So I knew there was a reason why we had you on for the show today, Tony.
It's not just because of my looks.
Well, actually, I loved your the EVH the 5150 guitar you were playing. It was in
Oh
your
yeah.
thumbnail.
Oh yeah,
That
I
was
like.
very
It's back there someplace. It's over there. I was hanging on my thing right here. Yeah, beautiful guitar.
awesome. Let's see. Oh, this is your guy, Box Guitar Rack. Okay, has there been any marketing confusion due to the name of the new MG? I've asked a friend if he was going to buy the MG 400, and his response was, "Marshall is making a new 400-watt
MG.
solid state." Um,
Yeah, because they're using
now,
the MG in the names of some of their amps as well. So yeah, I guess it could cause some confusion somewhere.
yeah, I know. It's just one of those things, guys. There's just so many letters in the alphabet. So we'll I don't know. We'll call it the JK 400. Just kidding. Um,
I'm gonna hijack this question here because somebody's
go for it.
asking, will it be possible to trade presets between users in the MG? So and I'll piggyback on that question because I was gonna ask that question as well.
Sure.
Where would be the best place to actually trade patches, and why hasn't NUX made like a little section on their website for people to be able to do that? I think that would be great.
That's a good question. I'm gonna get very close to the camera. I'm gonna get personal. It's Friday. I gotta have a little fun. There's
Yeah,
this
go ahead.
there's this thing called Facebook, and on Facebook
Yes,
we have these
heard
user
of it.
groups. And on these user groups, people share patches, and you're welcome to go up there and do it. People are doing it all the time. In fact, somebody just made the most killer Boston preset. It sounds like a Rockman. You and I were talking about Rockman a couple of days ago when we were doing our prelim before we started going into today's session, and that's the one thing I've always said. Why don't you stop doing it, Marshall? Marshall and Vox models, and give me a Rockman because I love that sound. And somebody made a Rockman. It sounds amazing. It sounds utterly amazing.
Beautiful,
And I
beautiful,
believe it's for the MG 300. I think somebody made that for the 300.
very nice. I'm
Sorry.
a stickler for clean sounds. I mean, I love the Marshall sound. I love all those
Mhm.
sounds, but um, I find the clean. If you can get a nice punchy clean sound, those are
Mhm.
very useful. So
I agree.
I'm always looking for those.
I agree. So yeah, so you can always go to Facebook. We have several groups that we dedicate to specific products or specific series of products where we answer your questions. And Monk is our VP of Sales and Marketing, and he is a tech head. And the dude knows his stuff. And you know Monk, right, Tony?
Yes, I do.
Um, and he will answer your questions most of the time. But I will say, please be polite, and also know that sometimes he will say something that you may not understand exactly what he's saying. Give him a second because it's English being translated, it's Chinese being translated in English, and sometimes there are little nuances that are lost in translation. But he is just the sweetest guy, and he wants to help you out. So be kind to him, and he will be kind in return because he will help you out if you're having USB problems and things like that. He's a very good guy, and also happens to be a pretty damn good guitar player too.
And he
So
doesn't give up either. He doesn't
no,
give
he
up
doesn't.
on you. Like if he can't figure it out right away, he's not just going to leave you hanging.
That's right. Here's a really good one because I mentioned Sophie. Now, if you haven't seen Sophie's channel, you've seen Sophie's channel, right, Tony?
I have, yes,
Yeah.
big
I mean, how
fan.
can you miss her? She's cute blonde guitar player.
Nothing
She's
wrong.
very easy
Nothing
on the
wrong
eyes and
there.
happens to be a really good guitar player on top of that.
Exactly.
And I'm like, that's like the best of all worlds right there. You mentioned Sophie Burrell's presets in the MG400. Is NUX planning on adding MG400 artist presets to the MG30 as well for a future update? Well, we already do have artist presets in there. They're just not artists that you may be all that familiar with. But yeah, there are all of those presets are artists that you definitely know. I mean, hopefully you know who Pete Thorne is. His presets are in there, and those
If you're
presets are
following the
pretty good.
channels, you should know who they are.
Yes, exactly. So, but it does lead up to a very interesting idea, Tony. Is that what if we started getting we started amassing all of our artist presets or had our artists start making more presets and then put them on the, put them for update, include them for updates or something. I'm really thinking that that's kind of what we should do, is take Sophie's presets here and see if we can translate it to one of the other, to the MG30 or something, and make it available as a download. I'm not sure if
I
we
think
can.
that would be an awesome idea. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in that.
Absolutely. I'm trying to get the attention of Charlie from Anthrax. I'm trying to get his attention. He's a Headrush user, and I interviewed him last year, and he's a really cool guy. And of course, I, being able to interview the drummer from Anthrax, who actually wrote most of the songs with Scott, I didn't even know that. I thought it was Scott all the way, and maybe a couple things from Joey or something like that. But no, Charlie wrote most of those songs. So he wrote, "I Am the Law" and all that stuff, and along with Scott. And he's just a kick-ass guitar player. And I'm trying to get him to actually, think about looking at us a little bit, because I think the Cerberus or something along those lines would look, I think he could do some pretty dangerous stuff with that.
I would
But
be
wouldn't it be
interested
cool if he
in
can make
hearing some of that for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's a couple of questions here from Davis Music, and one which I'm glad he's asking, because he says, "How is the feel of the unit? Some modelers don't have an amp-like feel." I'd like to pipe in if I can, because that's one of
Please
the
do.
reasons why I love the MG400 so much. And that's,
Mhm.
even the previous unit that I had, which I feel like the MG400 is a definite upgrade to that one. But that's what caught my attention in the first place, was the feel. It just felt really good. And
Mhm.
that's super important to me. So I wouldn't necessarily like to use a unit that didn't have the proper feel. And I have used other units, I'm not going to name names, that didn't have that, and it's just not the same. So for me, it's a thumbs up for the feel.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. The Yeah, the feel of the MG series in general, it really does feel like an amp when you're playing it. If you want to really go out of your way to not make it sound like an amp, you could certainly do that. I wouldn't recommend it, but you certainly could. But for what it's worth, at least in my experience, it's been just fantastic. Frankly, I mean, I've been using modelers since the '90s, and Guitar Rig, the first version of Guitar Rig from Native Instruments. Oh god, it was awful. Um, and
You,
IT Multimedia made the first version of Amplitude and all that. I mean, Tony, I go way back to Steinberg, when it was Steinberg North America. So
I
it was
remember.
before it was called
Yeah, yeah.
Steinberg Pinnacle or Steinberg Yamaha. It was Steinberg North America. In fact, actually, when I joined the company, they had just changed over from their original name, Steinberg Jones, which was another guy that was part owner of the U.S. operations. So I was there at the beginning of all the big plug-in explosion, and boy, I got to tell you, I heard some pretty rank modelers back then in the day. They were awful.
But
Um,
yeah, I know what you mean.
but we have come so far at this point. And I
It's
don't judge a book. The other thing too is, this is a philosophy of mine, I guess, is I just don't judge a book by its cover. Sometimes I can get a really great sound out of the crappiest piece of gear.
true.
Um,
That's true.
and but a lot of times, people just want the easy button, and I totally
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, yeah. But it's just funny, because every time, if I remember my history as a evolving player, every time you came across a unit, it's like, oh, this thing sounds really good. And then, you go back to it now, it's like, oh man, that sounds terrible. So it's like,
Mhm.
we're definitely making improvements, big improvements.
Absolutely.
I remember the Line 6 bean shaped, pods, that the original ones that were out in the
Hmm.
day. Even before that, they had the Johnson unit. I think that was, I don't know how long it was out, but it was one of the units that was out at the time. It's
Totally.
like, they sounded good at the time, but now listening back to them now, you're like, oh man, So yeah, even though you don't think there's room for improvement, there always is, and they really are getting much better. It's incredible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I have my kidney bean. I still have the kidney bean Light 6
You
pod.
kept it.
Oh yeah, and that was the one where if you wanted to upgrade it to 2.0, you had to take the plate off the back and put the 2.0 chip in there, the EEPROM chip. That was fun times. Here's one from your channel, actually. Let me bring this guy up. Quicksilver.
Yep.
Yeah, any more Verdugo series pedals coming next year? No, I see your doggies there too. No need to get into specifics, of course. Actually, I can tell you. I can tell you right now. It's no great secret. You'll know about it. There is a new Verdugo pedal coming called the Queen of Tone. That's coming up very, very shortly. In fact, we were a little deceived because on the packing slip it said that there was 200 of those suckers showing up now, and they didn't show up. But the Queen of Tone is a companion piece to the Ace of Tone, and the Queen of Tone is the Horseman pedal and the Morningstar pedal stuck together in one, which is awesome because if you guys have not used the Horseman, oh, you don't know what you're missing.
You got to
That's
use it.
Oh, absolutely. Of the Klon, clones. Say that 5 times really fast. Uh, of all of those clones out there, that's probably one of the most convincing of the bunch. And I'm not saying that just
Everybody raves about that one, and
yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm gonna
Ah,
go. I'm gonna get one right now.
go get one. Go get one. You get the gold and the silver edition in there, and that's just really cool. And then the Morning Star is really nice too. It's just a good overall drive. It just works so very well with it, and so that's coming. There will be a new Solid Studio coming at some point. I can't tell you when because I don't know. And I believe there will be a new version of the Rockery coming before too long because that's been out of production now for quite some time. But that was one of our most popular pedals, although it just doesn't fit the way it looked doesn't really fit the way that the rest of our Verdugo pedals look now. So that will be coming forthwith, I think, in 2023. There's so much stuff coming, guys. Trust me. A lot of things have been discontinued. If you go on our site and you go to certain areas like core pedals, you might notice there's a lot of discontinued pedals. Maybe that's because there's something new coming.
More
But we
stuff
haven't
coming
said
out.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have Paul here from he's a regular on my channel, and he's the resident pedal expert, and he says NUX has some exceptional pedals. That his comment is cut out a little bit there, but it says that uh, I can only see that many that are 3 times the price. I guess he means exceptional pedals that outdo many that are 3 times the price, and I would agree with that. The ones that
Mm-hmm.
I've tried have not been disappointing.
Okay. Let's. I'm trying to actually look for his. Who was it?
Paul L. Ewing, you can see. Unfortunately, I can't highlight the question on
Yeah.
my
I
end,
can't.
but
I can't find it
he's.
here.
It was a question earlier on, so you have to
Oh,
go
okay.
down quite a bit before you
Oh,
start
wait. There he
finding it.
is. Well, I see Paul. I see that one. No, for some reason I can't see the rest of his comments there. How weird. Okay. Well, there's a so we we get so many of them. I'm going through the all list, and it's like, oh my lord. Um, okay.
Some great questions. Scott also
Yeah.
says, I don't know if it's possible, but can a tap tempo be set up on one of the foot switches for the MG300? So it already you already have the yeah, you can definitely do that.
Mhm.
So I
Um,
guess he hasn't tried it or doesn't know how.
yeah, that one is a little difficult for me to actually demonstrate here and now because I don't have it right here with me. But it should be possible. Yes. Sorry, I'm just not. I'm having a bit of a brain fart on that one because I haven't used the I haven't used the 300 in quite some time. Um, but it should. Hmm. Maybe it
I
doesn't.
don't have the 300 here either. So
We'll have to circle back to that one. So maybe I might pick that up on a different episode because I'll obviously go back and look at all the questions and bring them up then at that point. But I found that one. Okay, there we go. I will have to, Scott. I'll have to. It's this question right here, I believe. There it is. Scott, I will have to. I will have to go back and double check on that one and let you know. But thank you for that. Okay, let's see. Christopher's on. He's. I guess he arrived from wherever he was driving from. So I had a Roland GP 100 from 1997, and the tones I record still stand up today. Yep. Well, that's Roland. Look, Roland made great stuff. Roland makes great stuff. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. I mean, my first pedal was a Boss pedal. It's sitting right back there. I still have it to this day. My first synthesizer was a JW50. And I learned how to synthesize with that, and it was a awful sounding synth, but it worked fine for me for the time because I was learning how to use synthesizers. And I mean, there's a lot of great stuff that they've made. The only thing that I'll fault the only thing I will fault Boss Roland, and without getting into it too much. I mean, I worked for him a little bit because I worked for Cakewalk when it was Cakewalk by Roland. So I had a few things to do with Roland back then. I will say this, that the one thing I fault them for is that they really have not evolved the interface of their guitar products. Their screen is so stuck in the 90s, and that really bothers me a lot when I look at that going, guys, it's 2022 now. Couldn't we just come up with a better interface for the front and make it look really attractive? But then again, nobody would buy our products if that ended up happening. So, Roland, whatever you do,
I like how they I like how they put two of the small screens together to make it look like a big screen.
Roland, you just keep doing that. Please keep doing that, and people will keep buying our products instead.
The one thing I have to say about Roland products, and I have used Roland products also, and I've purchased their multi-effects units in the past as well. I find that one of the things compared to what we're having now is the feel is not as good for me. I just find like the Roland stuff is lacking a little bit on the feel side of things.
Yeah, it's got its it's got its pluses and minuses for sure. But again, they do so many things now. They've got their fingers in so many pies now.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to all of the different things, they wear so many hats over there. It's crazy. Okay, so by the way, guys, we're getting some really great questions now. So keep them coming. We're gonna go for about another 9 minutes or so, just because Tony has a life, I have a life, and we've been doing this now for an hour and 50 minutes. So probably need to wrap it up at some point here. Quick question about the Mighty Plug Pro. I watched your great video about live streaming. Thank you very much. On-the-go adapter to connect the Mighty Plug Pro to iPhone. Is that the Lightning to USB camera adapter or the Lightning to USB 3 camera adapter? Let's see, which one is it? It's this one. So you're an Apple guy. I mean that's
the one.
There it is. That's it. So this is the one I found the best success with. That's the one I would recommend. Hopefully it helps.
There's a question from Dave here saying, can you use the detune as a whammy? I don't think you can.
No, you can't use the detune as a whammy. No, the detune is a detune. And that definitely is one of the pedals that I'd like to see integrated into the 400. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know yet. But we are adding new stuff all the time to all of the MGs. So very likely we will be looking at something like that in the near future. My hope is we're going to be able to change the wah. We're going to be able to put new wah pedals in there, and we're going to be able to put the the whammy in there too. But just remember, guys, the idea is if we put everything that's in the MG30 into the MG400, guess what? Nobody will buy the MG30.
Exactly.
Anymore, right? We have to have differentiation points. But I will say this. If you're looking at the three pedals, you're looking at the three MGs right now, and you're saying to yourself, well, I'm going to start playing gigs. I'm just going to say this just because it's my own personal opinion. You really should go for the 30 because you want that metal chassis. That's going to it's going to really pay itself off, because plastic is it's a plastic shelf for the MG400 and the MG300, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in the studio, fine. On stage, we all get a little anxious sometimes. We all get a little aggressive, and you might end up
excited,
or you might stomp on it too hard. So I'm just saying, think about your steps. Think about the usage.
That's true. Good advice.
The extra money. Do some financing.
I also think that one of the things that one of the other advantages is the having access to an effects loop.
Oh yes, that's absolutely one of the big things about the MG30 is being able to use the effects loop. I showed how to use that with the Digitech Trio. A lot of people, know my channel from the Digitech Trio because I was one of the only guys who actually went out and there explained how it works. Digitech certainly didn't. Sorry, I have no love lost for Digitech. They really I hope Court figures out what to do with them. Court Guitars, that's who bought Digitech, in case you were wondering. I hope they figure out what to do with Digitech, but as far as I'm concerned, they took Harman took that brand and just killed it. They absolutely just killed it. They did the Gibson move. You know what I mean? Like
I know.
Gibson bought Oberheim and just ran them right into the ground.
Yeah,
Same
yeah,
idea.
yeah, yeah. And it's a shame because
I'm
they
sure
did
that's
have some
probably kicking
interesting
my ass.
products.
I'm sure that's probably they're kicking my ass somewhere in karma there. But somebody named Dr. Doom decided to say something silly. I don't know what that's about. Elbow cough, elbow cough. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Okay, let's see. I'm just going through the last few ones here. Looks like your fan Gene there. He's going off to have dinner.
He's getting hungry.
Yeah, how about that? We will also be breaking for dinner here pretty quick because it's late for you too. I know. Okay, I want to go back to a couple of questions here that I had. A couple of saved ones here. See if there's anything here that I wanted to that I wanted to ask. Okay, so this is a question I did get about the MG 30 from Mike Weaver. And I actually wrote, I responded to him earlier today on YouTube that he asked, "Is there a way to kill the loop while allow the drum to continue?" No, unfortunately, that's not how the phrase looper works. The when you record, you can use the drum machine just by itself and just use it as a practice tool if you want to. But if you record a phrase loop, you can't disengage the drums. It's locked together. So that's the quick answer. So hopefully that helps. But people ask the questions and we want to try to answer them.
So there's Arda is asking how many presets are there? Can you answer with text? So I guess he just wants to have a number.
A lot.
More than you need.
Oh, good Lord! I'm sorry. That's that cough is just getting to be something else. Well, there's 16 banks and there's four presets per bank. So do the math.
A lot.
A lot. I mean, give me the exact one. Okay, I don't do the math in my head. Sorry, I just don't. So 64. So 64 presets for user, 64 presets for factory. So there you go. How about that?
And DMAC, he's basically saying what I've sent many times before. He says I got a HX stomp, but I'm intrigued by the MG30. It just seems more intuitive than the stomp. I found the stomp has way too many settings and configurations. The MG30 and the MG400, both, in my opinion, that's one of the big factors that that has me still using them today. Is that I don't want to spend time mucking around. I just want to play and I want to be able to get my sounds quick, and
Right.
I don't have to deep dive into like 4 sub menus to do it. When you're in a live situation, time is very important. You want to get to the next patch as quickly as you can before you get the stink eye from the drummer or the bass player, and these ones definitely do that. So that's a great point.
That's very true. And DMAC, I'm not going to say this to insult you or anything about that at all because again I have a lot of Line 6 products. You can see one of my Variaxes is right there. My acoustic Variax is sitting right there. My gripe with Line 6 has been and will be the in the weeds part of the editor for the HX Stomp and for the Pod Go and all that is that I need to be creative and I need to start working fast. And to Tony's point, I don't like getting a stink eye. Although I don't get any from anybody, because the only person who's going to give me the stink eye is going to be my wife, or my, the doggies, when they're saying, "Please feed me." But uh, the point is that um, I think our editor is really easy, very easy to navigate, and yet you get really solid results with very little work. And it's not that there's anything wrong with the HX Stomp. I like the HX Stomp quite a bit. I sold a lot of them as the pedal guy here. And we had a grand old time with it for a while there. It was great. But the issue has been the issue has been it sometimes it's a little too complicated for me. And I'll tell you, this is the only one thing that does irk me a little bit about it, is that the looper does not run independently of the presets. So if you're in a preset on the Pod Go and you bring up a looper and then you want to layer another sound on top of that, you're SOL. It doesn't work that way. I've heard that if you jump from one preset to another preset that has a looper built into the preset, you can do that. I haven't tested that because I don't have any more Pod Goes to try. But that's one of the things that kind of irks me a little bit, because I like to have separation of church and state when it comes to my looper versus my tones. And that's just me. But again, that's the only thing. But I'd say that the HX Stomp, you can get some incredible tones out of that you can't get out of anything else but those products. And Marcus Ryle is, he recently retired, and he was the founder of Line 6. And I've had lunches with him and hung out with him a bit. And he's just like the sweetest guy. And I have to just give props to him for what he did for the whole idea of bringing the big old amp sound into a headphone amp that was actually, what would become the Pod, and then their meteoric rise to all the other things they did. So I give them props for what they do, and I hope they continue to make great, innovative products. But yeah, it's just that's two of my gripes about the HX and the Pods in general these days. But aside from that, you can get great tones out of that. You can get great tones out of head rushes. You can get great tones out of Amperos. But I work for NUX, so we're going to talk about NUX products. And I like the tones you can get out of our products. So anyway, there you go. There's my very long answer to, or bit of feedback there to the question.
And nothing stops you from using the taking the a looper pedal, that your favorite looper pedal, and putting it in the loop of the other MG unit, and isolating your loop that way. I mean, if you wanted
Absolutely.
to really have your loop separate, there's always little workarounds that you can figure out.
Yeah, just always remember there's always solutions around it. You just have to be willing to make a few compromises here. Trust me, guys. For the younger audience members, if we have any out there, I don't know. Sometimes I always look at our analytics and I go, "Oh God, most of our viewers are older than I am." The reality is that you don't know how good you've got it. Okay, because Tony, I don't know how far back you go with the tech side of things on music, but I mean, gosh, when I was first learning how to do this in the 90s, oh my Lord, it was, we're talking about prehistoric caveman times when it comes to the music technology back then compared to now. And yet even back then you had stuff coming up like 9-inch Nails, and all this stuff was completely 100% innovative for its time. And now you can do a lot of that so easily. You can record an entire album on your phone now, and it's nuts. And I just
We're
say,
never satisfied. That's the crazy thing, is that you're exactly right. We're all walking around with a computer in our pocket that could do so much, and so much technology built into this little device that we take for granted every day. And now we're getting into the point where it's never good enough, because we are living in the world of like apps and instant gratification, and nobody wants to wait for anything anymore. And it's like, we're constantly getting bombarded with new products, so it's never enough. And it's great to be able to master what you already have, and keep you have to. The one thing I remind myself of often, and this is a little piece of advice for everybody, is most of the tone still comes from your hands. And if you're looking for, if you're trying to become a better player through devices, you're never going to become a better player. So it's better to concentrate on your playing technique and use the devices to augment what you already have or what you're already capable of, as opposed
Mhm.
to, constantly buying stuff to kind of, replace what you can't do with your hands. So,
Absolutely.
learn how to use your gear is what I'm trying to say. You can do a lot with what you have if you really try.
That's some very solid advice there, Tony. Thank you. I couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have put it better at all. Okay, well, we are now at over 2 hours, and I know that you've got a life, and I've got a life, and I have to. I have to. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. There is one last one here from DMAC. Here, he was asking about the service. I just want to answer this question very, very quickly. Where is the best place to buy NUX gear in Canada? Is it mostly online dealers? What do you think, Tony? Since you're up in the Great White North.
Yeah, like unfortunately, I don't see the New X products at any like Long and McQuaid's yet. At least I haven't had the opportunity to see them. I would probably say you can definitely look into Amazon possibly,
Hmm.
depending on what kind of stock is being carried and if they're not already sold out.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, I don't have any other better places besides that right now, unfortunately. I'm hoping to start seeing them in some shops and more people understanding how good they are so that you can actually buy them. you know, but I mean, probably Amazon is the best bet for now.
It's the little things. It's the little things. We will get to that at some point. Here in the United States, I can't sell to Canada. We have to get it shipped in from China directly to Canada. We have a distributor there, and when you're with the distributor, basically they do the best they can with what they're given, and they have a ton of other brands and other SKUs that they sell, and so we get lost in the shuffle. My hope is that we're going to be able to revisit that someday and maybe do something there, because Canada is a really important part of the world for us too. And I think there's a lot of great players out there that definitely would benefit from having us there. And Long and McQuaid, I'd love to be in that store because I love those stores. Those are great. Okay, but I think it's time to wrap it up here. So I want to thank Tony, our guest Tony, for stopping in. Thank you very much, Tony. I really do appreciate you making the time for coming out and hanging out with me today.
I had a great
And
time. Thank you for the invite.
my pleasure. I hope
I,
to do it again.
I'd love to do it again with you sometimes, or have you on my channel as well. And don't worry about going long. Like Fat Philosopher says, I don't really have a life, so can, I can talk as long as we need to. But I really appreciate having the opportunity to join you here today and get familiar with some of your fans. Hopefully, they might drop in from time to time and check out my channel at the same time and ask some questions about the new X stuff and other stuff as well, gear in general, and have some interesting gear talk on Sunday mornings if they want to have something to go with their coffee in the morning. Nothing's better than starting the day with a coffee and gear talk. So everybody's welcome to join in. And
Good point.
yeah, and hopefully
Good
we'll
point.
be looking at even more interesting new X products in the near future. I'm always excited, and I'll let you know how I like the little pedals I promised to go and buy. So as soon as I get one of those, I'll let you know.
Sounds good. So, for those of you who are following us on our YouTube and Facebook pages, please do go visit Addicted to Gear, subscribe to Tony's channel, and help him grow his channel. And coming up later this month, we're going to be changing from strings to keys, and we're going to have our special guest Micheal is going to come on, and we're going to do a session on pianos, because you didn't know this, but we make pianos. Did you know that, Tony?
I did, and I'm interested.
They're really nice. And I want to expose our audience to the piano side of things. So if you want to find out about these kick-ass pianos we make, um, tune back in later in the month, and we'll see you then. But until then, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a very safe holiday season. Make sure you go get yourself an awesome October spooky Halloween costume. And we will see you in the very near future. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye now.